CBS Sports Radio.
Now, it's Pace of Play.
Come on, Glenn! Come on! Get your head in the damn game!
Putting the boys on the clock.
I guess we're playing for keeps now.
The fuck?
All right, welcome back, everybody. Pace of Play. And Lee, we just alluded to a little bit earlier in the show, the U.S. Open just completed at Marion. There was a lot of positives, some negatives, a little bit of controversy, a lot of praise for the golf course. I want to find out what your opinion of the event was. I think overall it was fantastic. I think the golf course held up absolutely stupendous. It brought out the best in the best. These guys had to think around. It was a little different track because it was short. Like we said, maybe only hitting driver, 4 or 5 times. The greens were absolutely superb, drove these guys nuts. Not very often in any PGA tournament, let alone a major. I shouldn't say let alone a major. It happens more in majors where guys are taking doubles and triples and quads. I give an absolute A+ to the golf course per se and the way it held up for this championship.
Yeah, I think the golf course was fine. I still go back to the fact that I'm not a huge fan of doubles and triples winning a golf tournament. I don't mind doubles and triples being made. I like the possibility coming down the stretch where you got the opportunities to make birdies. Not on a 530-yard par 4 that you can't hold the green. I like the fact that if I hit 2 good shots, I can get it up there 20 feet and make a 20-footer. And that wasn't available. Yeah.
I think that's where a lot of the criticism was. You're absolutely right. It went from one extreme to the other, a 540 par 4 and a 98-yard par 3.
In 2 days, on Saturday and Sunday, not one person made birdie on hole 18. In 2 days. That's over the top to me.
That's over the top. I agree.
I mean, in order to have a close where a guy can stand on that tee, be 1 shot back or be 2 shots back and expect a 2-shot swing, I'd like to see some birdies being made. That's not to say that I'd like the U.S. Open to be a 15 under par winner. But the fact of the matter is the ratings are down by about 10%. Viewership was down about 13% in the final round. I think ESPN had a great Thursday, one of the better ones ever. Yeah. But Tiger out of the mix, Phil in the mix. Overall, I don't think we could ask for a better champion. Justin Rose, other than as Americans liking an American to win our championship.
Sure.
Justin Rose is one of the best guys out on tour and is a great champion.
And he won it. And he won it.
No question.
Yeah.
No question.
Yeah.
But he won it by making pars down the stretch. I'd like to see somebody, make a birdie every now and again. Speaking of Justin Rose, he's, teeing it up this week. We talked with Nathan Grube, the tournament director at TPC River Highlands for the Travelers Championship. Justin Rose is teeing it up this week. What are your thoughts? Would you still compete if you were to win a major championship? You win the U.S. Open. You've made a commitment to the tournament the next week. Would you still compete?
Well, that's just it. And, he's, like you say, he's a good guy, well-liked on tour, a classy guy. And you just said it, Lee. He made a commitment, and he's the kind of guy honorable enough to keep that commitment. And what a great thing for the Travelers having the U.S. Open champion not only keep that commitment, showing up, more ticket sales, better for them all around. I think it's absolutely terrific, and I think he's doing the right thing.
I would 100% not compete the next week. I would probably
you'd still be hungover.
I would still be intoxicated.
Yeah.
I would probably send the trophy up to the tournament, probably filled with $100,000, and say I apologize.
Yeah, here it is. Give it to charity. Yeah,
and I'll show up Friday night. Yeah. I'll have drinks with the trophy. I'll have drinks with you, but I am absolutely not playing a lick of golf the following week, regardless.
And
of
he's
the
playing
commitment.
good. So he's on a roll.
He absolutely is. There's no chance I'm showing up for that after winning the U.S. Open.
Well, Webb Simpson did, and Justin Rose. It's very honorable of this guy. And so, and leaving one last thing on the U.S. Open. Poor Phil, like a bridesmaid, 6-time. He's come up short. I just really think he, after 6 times, Lee, he might be a little bit snake bit. He's got obviously a bad vibe about this golf course or whatever. And I think this could be his ruination as far as ever winning a U.S. Open for Phil. I don't know.
So
he's heartbroken about it. He said that in the press tournament. He said, this tournament is breaking my heart every year, and I'm just starting to look at this tournament a little bit differently.
Well, I think there's I think the question you're asking me is, will Phil ever win the U.S. Open?
Yeah.
I think absolutely the easiest answer is to say no. You're exactly right. I mean, 6 runner-ups, an all-time record. It was a record before Marion,
sure.
and it's an even larger record after. He's had times where the U.S. Open has been taken away from him.
Right.
And he's had times where he's given it away. To your point, when there's not that many birdies to be made, he was right there, but Justin Rose outplayed him. And Phil didn't play terrible.
No, he did not.
He made a couple doubles early, but recovered and held the lead, and just didn't play terrible down the stretch. Justin Rose won the tournament. Now, Winged Foot was a different story. Phil gave that one away, and a couple others, but. I think in answer to your question, I'm gonna go out on a limb and I'm gonna say yes. He's going to get over the hump, and I'm gonna say you heard it here first. I'm gonna say it's going to be next year. I think Pinehurst #2 for the 2014 U.S. Open obviously owes him a little bit.
Yeah, it does.
I think it's going to be his swan. And I could honestly see Phil winning the U.S. Open, walking off, and never playing again.
You might be right.
If he ever gets a
lot of people speculate, Lee, that he's hurting himself because he wants it so badly. He's getting in his own way. Any credence to that?
I don't think there's any question about it. I mean, I think he puts enough pressure on himself to play well. This is after the Masters, after winning that a few times, he's this is the tournament that he wants to win. And unfortunately, it's only played once a year, so he's got to ramp up to it. And then now he's got 365 days to go until the next one. But I think Pinehurst #2 fits his eye, fits his game.
I do too.
And and obviously with what Payne Stewart did there, back in the late '90s, and giving him the opportunity to win, and then making the putt on 18, so he didn't. But I think he's going to win next year, and maybe there's a wager to be placed out there somewhere.
Very possible.
To see if
Very
Phil
possible.
can win it. Well, talking about the USGA, I don't. They're a polarizing organization. Obviously, they have. Mike Davis is a polarizing figure when it comes to setting up golf courses, and people leave upset at the setup, and people love it at the same time. But one thing I wanted to mention was kudos to the USGA for their commercial attack on pace of play.
Right.
If you watched the U.S. Open, you saw the While We're Young, and we had Tiger Woods and other Paula Creamer, Butch Harmon, those folks really involved in this commercial appeal to the pace of play issue that we have going on in golf. My question is what do you think specifically needs to happen to fix this issue?
Well, it's interesting, and I agree with you. I think kudos to them. I think the best one is when Arnold Palmer comes out behind the beverage cart and hey, while I'm still young, that type of as he's drooling but whatever. They are going to be doing a study. In fact, they started it, Lee, at the U.S. Open. They had a gentleman with every group that played at the U.S. Open to track certain information, and they're gonna do this statistically as to when people get out of position, why they do. Does it have anything to do with a slow play in front of them, or if they're in the woods, or uncertain about club selection and that type of thing? And they're going to do this at various tournaments, funnel all this statistical stuff into one report, and hopefully come up with some answers as to the causes for slow play. And that may be what it is, but I tip their hat to them as far as the commercial that they have.
Yeah,
the effort they have in stopping slow play.
Well, I think the effort's great to bring cause and bring this issue to the forefront. But the only maybe issue I had with the commercials was it didn't give any instruction as to how to do better.
Right.
And I think that's important. I think that we need to talk about being ready when somebody else is playing in your group. And I think instructional opportunities on a 30-second commercial could really help.
I agree.
Pace of play fix number 1. Those types of things.
I agree.
And it's got to start with the PGA Tour.
It does.
The PGA Tour has to get to where
Because they're the culprit.
Correct.
They are
And people
the
watch.
culprit.
People watch, and they see what tour players do, and they'll follow.
Exactly. All right. Real briefly, wrap it up. We talked about Vijay filing a suit against the PGA Tour. The PGA Tour has gone into court to get an injunction or get a dismissal because purportedly all the PGA Tour players sign a contract with them that the PGA Tour is exempt from lawsuits in various categories. You think this is going to go anywhere? Has any credence, or is this thing still going to go ahead?
Well, I think the PGA Tour is doing the right thing. I mean, they are obviously staying at the no comment zone. You sign the waiver that you need to pay attention to the rules and abide by the anti-doping policy. I think the question is, and taking it to a humorous side, if Vijay Singh wins this lawsuit, does he get credit for a victory on his PGA Tour season, and the money, the punitive damages that maybe he recovers, do those go to official money in his finals? I think that's the good question.
That would be interesting, and this all happening with a guy who's ranked number 2 in all-time earnings, on the PGA Tour. All right, that's going to wrap it up for this edition of Pace of Play, and Lee and I are going to come back. We're going to finish up with more than the 19th weekend edition on CBS Sports Radio. We're back with you right after this.
There I was standing in the middle of the green, the 12-foot birdie looking back at me.